regular scheduled meeting, March 12th, 2024, at 9 a.m. This time we will stand and do the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear Heavenly Father, once again, Lord, we come to you just thankful that we have the freedoms in this country to gather and talk about the business of the county. Just hope and pray that you be with the proceedings. Lord, be with this community, be with our state, be with our nation, and Lord, just all the chaos that's going on in Ukraine and in the Middle East, Lord, just be with those who know they're in your hands. Be with those that protect us daily, Lord, both here and abroad. Be with their families. Be with those, our local emergency management and law enforcement. Just grant them peace and safety, Lord. Be with those that are sick and dealing with burdens, Lord, and just give them strength. And these things we ask in Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Need a motion to approve the minutes for February 27th.
I'll make a motion.
I've got a couple questions, and Debbie's not here. So I was curious, we had some transfers like into the county judge executive salary line. Had questions on that because it was fully funded, so.
That's because their salaries aren't set until February.
Okay,
The
so
state
this is
sets
to compensate, so even though we were on track prior to that, and it went up in that, then, okay, thank you for that, so that takes two of those, so, thank you, somebody in the room?
Need a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Benji, second by Scott. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Budget transfers. Need a motion.
So moved.
Clay, motion by Clay,
I'll second.
second by Scott. All in favor, say aye. Invoice approval.
I got a question. Tony, battery charger, $2,000, or what was that for, you know?
For a battery charger?
Yeah. Something with the lifts or something.
The list,
Yeah.
for a battery charger, yeah, you have the invoice there by chance, or?
From Striker Sales.
Oh, yes, that's for the cots, I thought it was for the truck.
Okay.
This is,
I was,
yeah, the battery chargers are for the cots, the power load systems on the cots that raise the cots up and down.
okay.
There's rechargeable batteries, we bought 2 new cots, and they had to have the extra batteries for those. If you run out of juice on one, you can switch them out, otherwise you can't raise the patient up and down.
Okay.
And they're very proud of them.
Yeah, I definitely,
Yeah.
that was looking for like.
Yeah.
Good, all right, thank you.
I was gonna say, I don't remember signing nothing for vehicle chargers, so.
Yeah, I was kind of stumped for a second though, but yeah, when you said striker, it makes sense. That's what that was for.
Okay, thank you.
Need a motion to approve the invoice.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Benji, second by Clay. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Financial statement, information's in your packet. Okay, and next up is Carroll County Clerk, Danielle.
Yeah, I am just turning over the excess fees from the 2023 account. Debbie checked just a few minutes ago. It's $53.99.55.
Okay. All right, thank you. The next was, it's been scratched, is the resolution for fair housing. So we'll pick that up at a different time. Resolution for hazardous mitigation plan.
Need a motion taken first
Need a
reading.
motion
First
to-
reading.
We'll make that a motion to read the resolution.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Scott, second by Clay, all in favor? All right.
And therefore be resolved by the Carroll County, Kentucky, that in accordance with the Carroll County Administrative Code, all content related to Carroll County may require revisions to meet the plan approval requirements. Changes occurring after adoption will not require the Carroll County Fiscal Court to re-adopt any further iterations of the plan. Subsequent plan updates following the approval period for this plan will require separate adoption resolutions.
Okay. You need a motion to accept this resolution?
So moved.
That's Wade.
Second.
Scott, all in favor, say aye. Judge's comments. I basically have no comments other than, had a little issue out to the Consoc or Hope Center that had a little leak. I think we've got it taken care of. Guarantee that is due to the leaves piling up and stuff like that, but actually, basically, there's no other comments.
Is that a water leak or a roof?
Rain, we thought it was coming around a piece of pipe, but I think what it was is the gutter was hold up and it's running back.
Okay, so it's a roof.
So right now, I just talked to both of them, Nancy and them, and it was, she said it was dry, so hopefully we've got the issue taken care of. We just got lots of leaves piled up out there, so. We'll keep an eye on it, and everything else going fairly smooth out there right now, so.
Does that do the leaf being in the gutter? So we might look at something to cover the gutter, maybe some screen.
Yeah, maybe,
I mean, there's continuing to be a problem.
Yeah.
We need to do that really well back in rooms and block buildings, so.
yeah. But the roofs are, just, you know, like a note, mental note that the roofs are not real good shapes out there, so. If we do have a leak, I'm not really surprised about it, but it's all the buildings and, you know, constantly keep updating on them, so. All right. County attorney comments?
No, sir, I just had a matter for executive session.
Master comment, we'll start with Benji.
Okay. Curious about the backhoe, what was gonna end up doing about that?
I called them the other day, so far the backhoe's there, ready to go, we'll have to do it through ARPA money, and we'll get the backhoe.
Okay.
I'm trying to get it before April, before the cleanup days and stuff, so.
Has anything been scheduled for the cost analysis on the jail?
The cost analysis,
Yeah.
The feasibility.
the feasibility
Yeah,
study,
yeah, sorry.
that is coming.
Okay. And then let's see here. Well, I talked to you about East Farm Locust, the ditching issue up there, and,
Supposedly that's been taken care of, but I'll have to check with
okay.
Gino. Okay. And that was just a matter of ditching and stuff, to
Yeah.
try to get that water to run down on the road.
Yeah.
So, and down. Okay, Clay?
I don't have any comments today, other than just thank everybody for the job they do, just do the daily things, so I do appreciate it, and thank you all.
All right, Scott?
Yeah, fair enough. I forgot one thing. So, just want to reiterate, and I've mentioned this before, but I got a call this week about it again. It's the M&T Road, Kentucky 2350, the south side of the railroad tracks where there's a big depression just before we go on. It, again, continues to get worse, and so it'd be awesome if they can get in there and do some work. Real appreciate they're doing a good job on 36, trimming and all that in anticipation of getting things cleaned up and getting some asphalt down, so that seems to be going well. Gino and I will be driving the District 3 roads today just to compare notes and lists and stuff and try to narrow that down similar to what we did last year. So I'll be getting that moved forward. Nuisance ordinance project, we had a committee meeting yesterday. And so just a quick update, again, we are approaching completion, that we need to get your input on and need to get those finalized, because as we continue to mull this over, we've got some potential conflicts or some challenges maybe down the road, so we want to try to alleviate any of that before we actually roll this thing out and do the best job we can. Some key things that are going to be on that, obviously things that are coming forward, or we've got to adopt the two ordinances. So there is again the new nuisance ordinance, and then there's a new one that has to do with actually the creation of and use of the code enforcement board, so that'll be something totally new. We've got to obviously get those folks for the code enforcement board. We've got to get them appointed once the ordinances are adopted. We've got to make a decision as a judicial court, with the judge taking the lead on whether or not we can make a full-time position enforcement officer. Being given we couple campaigns on trying to get the county cleaned up and do some things, and if you look at the city of Carrollton, you know, again, same type of thing. That's not necessarily something you can just do 30% of your time on it and do it well. So we are proposing that we have that full-time position there, but there's some things that need to be done. So that job would have to be filled. We have to get that individual trained and so forth. We've narrowed down the selection of software tools to for that's individually used. So we would need to get that purchased, onboarded, and implemented. We are going to do a public education campaign, so Taylor will want to use the News Democrat bit on that. We'll be doing some Facebook posts, likely do a town hall or two. Get that out in front of people, and so get them engaged, because there will be some changes. And with all of that, kind of the proposal was to launch this July 1 of this year, so that's not that far away. Almost seems kind of aggressive, but I want to keep the momentum going. If we just drag this out, it'll just keep dragging out. So that's kind of the thought process there. We don't have any more meetings scheduled. We didn't have Nick yesterday, so Nick's kind of, he's the guy, he's the kind of the center pin on all this. So Nick, I'll work with you to kind of when your calendar is clear and so forth, and we'll try to get folks back together and get some of this done, and we'll get that communicated. So a lot of stuff there. Also roadside cleanup, we're going to do the last one again. I try to get people out before the ticks come out, before poison ivy starts to come out and all that type of stuff, and snakes and of course all the other stuff. So we're going to do a roadside cleanup. We're going to do Stafford Bridge. It'll be on the 23rd of March at 9 a.m. So I had one person that needed community service. Nick, if you got other bodies, you can pass that along. I can send you more details if you need that, but she did a really good job, and she got 3 hours out of it. So the last thing here, if technology works, I want to introduce something that I've been working on as an ordinance proposal. I sent you guys emails on this, so hopefully you have an opportunity to look at it. But I'm just going to march through this, take a few minutes, and hopefully this is online as well. Roger's done a great job, and we've added some new toys to the toy box here. So what this is all about, the purpose of this is to help ensure that sufficient funds are always available for a number of reasons. And certainly, if you think about natural disasters, loss of revenue, if we wanted to do something like purchase some property that become available, or capital projects, okay, things that we would like to do. So that's why we want to do it. And why do I think this is needed? I mean, those of us that have lived in this community, I think there's generally been a history that there's a lack of commitment to maintaining an emergency fund, combined with a willingness to cash in CDs that were available, and that there was no commitment or any discipline to replenish those funds. Okay, so talk to Debbie, she can kind of give you the history of how we stepped it down. It was used on, depending on what side of the fence you are with the college, I think, that was definitely something you either do ballpark, whatever side of the camp you find yourselves in. Personnel issues, hemp, all these type of things, but we just cashed in CDs, but there was never, at least from outside looking in, any attempt to get that reestablished. And to my mind, it's ultimately led to a failure to assess the revenue streams, so what's actually coming in, our expenses, and overall, I mean, we all know there's, roughly $1 million deficit every year, and, so there was really no way to get that built back up. But I think if you had gone down that path, it would have forced you to look at that. So that's my reason for doing this. I have been working with Lonnie Campbell. He's from Keiko. I know, very well respected guy. I know Debbie works with him a fair amount, and also Keith Rock. So Keith Rock's a brilliant guy. He works for a company out of Lexington, and known him for quite a while. So work with these guys on this. So the way this would work, first of all, the question is, and hopefully, most of you are understand the importance of your rainy day fund, your emergency fund at home, and those types of things, but how much money do you need to have in there? It's really not any different than what you should have at home. It's really about 4 to 6 months. And you base it either on your revenue or your expenditures. That's dependent on, are you more vulnerable to losing revenue, or are you more vulnerable to having these significant spikes in expenditures, okay? So, one thing to consider as we think about this, occupational tax is kind of our gold mine. And about 25% of that comes from one industry. So if something happened dramatic there, we would take a significant hit. But anyway, you would look at that. So just as kind of a quick recap, for the last year, our revenue is about $1.01 million a year, and our expenses are 1.1. So again, got $1 million deficit every year. So if you look at those numbers, depend on, if you want to choose revenue or expenses, if you pick 4 months, it's roughly $4 million, your max would be 6.6, somewhere in that ballpark. Okay, so that gives you the range of how much money should we have sitting in this rainy day fund, okay? If you guys got questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Other things to think about are, what can this money be spent for? So first of all, comes to mind the floods and the tornadoes that our state's had on kind of, the eastern side of the state and the western side. So, that certainly comes to mind. We are somewhat flood prone here. Again, that can happen here. So that would be your thing from natural disasters. Another one would be, like I said, if you happen to lose a large employer, we would expect our revenues to drop significantly. So we would need to compensate for that. Another one might be that, for instance, for the sake of economic development, a valuable piece of property came on the market. Maybe we had an opportunity to purchase that. We want to be able to move. And again, that would be justified purchase. There might be some capital projects that you want to do that, again, that might be the right thing to do for the sake of economic development or whatever. It might be quality of life, maybe a housing type initiative, whatever it might be. But those would be the type of things. Now, one of the things on this real quickly, you got to be a little bit careful on, we wouldn't allocate 100% of this for capital projects, because we don't want to just write a check and completely deplete that. Because again, the primary reason is for recovery from natural disasters, that type of thing. So likely, you would say you could only use 50% of this for capital purposes.
If you got 4 purposes up there, just divide it up, 25%, or 25%.
Yeah, you could do something like that too. The key thing is that you don't ever just leave that completely dry. And we'll talk about why that's important. Other things to consider on this is how the money would be invested to maximize growth. And Debbie's provided me with the KRS. It provides you some guidelines. Bottom line is you would not invest this in risky investments. You're not going to go out and junk bonds and that type of thing that give you a high rate but got a really high risk. So there is a state statute out there in terms of, CDs are absolutely acceptable. They've got to be, backed and that type of stuff. But again, so you would want to be responsible with the money and just like you do at home, that type of thing. Bottom line is we don't want to just bury it in a glass jar and put it out in the, it wouldn't be earning money for us. Those of you that have been to some of the conferences, Cash, that comes up. That's the firm, that's what they do for you. And Boone County's used that very, very successfully. And then the other one to think about, what's the process for gaining approval? So for instance, an emergency, it may very well be that the judge exec's got the power to do what he needs to do, in those early hours of that event to get the support, whatever we need here to stabilize the situation, those type of things. But if it's non-emergency, obviously, we're not going to just give the judge a blank check and say, have a nice day. It's going to have to be based on majority vote, that type of thing. And then the other piece of this is critical, and I think this is where we failed in the past, a formal plan to replenish the fund. So, when a drawdown occurs, how are you going to get that replenished? You do need to commit to that. It's not like Again, think about your home, just because the refrigerator fails and I gotta pull $1,500, you really need to be thinking about, okay, how am I gonna start getting that built back up? Because guess what? The stove or the washer and dryer is gonna fail next. So I need to be anticipating that all the time. So obviously from natural disaster, even though it's a slow, painful process, hopefully eventually you're getting some of that money back, so that'll be earmarked to go back into that emergency fund. And if it's property purchases, capital projects, some of those type of things, again, each one of those is gonna have to be treated individually, but it may be, that would depend on how you wanna do this, but there does need to be a plan and commitment to get that replenished. This is not just a pot of money that we just use and never have to replenish. So the other component, the last I think on this one is, as part of the annual budgeting process, you would want to look at this every year because expenditures go up, revenue can go up or down, so you really need to look at these type of things on an annual basis to say, do we need to tweak it? Now, in my mind, because I'm fairly conservative, I would never drop that value, but I would increase it if I needed to, that type of thing. But again, it's that responsibility that this stuff is very dynamic. It moves all the time. Now, the interesting thing about this, and again, this is where, we have to think about things, is I want to make it, and everybody in this room, I think, knows this. We didn't get into this current situation overnight. I mean, this has been a slow, just getting into the situation. So we're not going to get, I think, where we want to be overnight. It just doesn't happen that way. So again, I'm just using an assumption here. If our target was $4 million, we do have 1.8 in CDs right now. So we've got over $2 million gap. That's pretty significant, okay? We know we increased the OC tax, and part of one of the three pillars we said for doing that was that some of that money would be used for emergency fund, to get that built back up. So bottom line is, we are going to expect to increase about $3.5 million. We've again got about $1 million gap. So again, we really need, again, about a $2 million gap that we have to close. And I'll leave this, and this is my last slide here, but depending on, $2 million gap, the math is pretty easy. If you got $250,000, it's going to take you 9 years to get there. Based on 2.2 million, but 500,000. So again, it kind of goes back. We didn't get here overnight, and we're not going to get out of it overnight. So, like I said, my purpose today was to get this out to you guys, give some thoughts. I do have some passion around it. I guess Ms. Debbie, I had shown you this in a slightly different version, but more or less the same several weeks ago. So I don't know if you got thoughts or anybody else got questions or. Nick, you would have to be the guy that would put this in form of an ordinance. You know, I'll get your copy. Okay.
How much are we currently making off our CDs right now, 5%? So we could obligate some of that every year too. I agree with this. This is something we definitely need to do. It's just, I guess, determination of how much money that we actually put back per year, what we can afford as well, so. But I definitely, that was 4.4 or
4 to 6 million.
4 to 6 million, yeah. So.
Well, I think since we got this on the open table and everything, this is part of our financial meetings and budget meetings that we need to discuss some of this. But we got it out on the table now. We need to discuss that when we have our budget meetings and stuff, what we really want to do instead of put this out on the public right now till we figure out what we want to do to increase our rainy day fund or our emergency fund. Debbie, you have any comments on this?
I agree. We need to talk about what we want to invest, because we could even do CDs longer term than what we're doing. Would we be better to go that way and be able to readily have our hands on the money faster?
Yeah, and that's absolutely part of this. The bottom line is the money is
We can
easy to get
budget.
to. So,
We can budget every year, and
Yeah.
automatically, we're gonna buy or invest, when the CDs come renewable. And again, I'm not sure about this.
You yourself told me that we need, you would like $6 million.
Yes, 6
Yeah.
million is where I'm.
But we have to have something in place to hold our feet to the fire, because we will never get there, I can guarantee it.
You have
So
to have
what
the
I'm
money
trying
to
to do
put
is
there
this-
first.
What's that?
You have to have the money to put there first.
But we do.
Right now, we do not.
Huh?
Right now, we do not.
We're gonna start seeing.
We are going to start. Right now, we do not.
Yeah, but it's starting, so this is right around the corner.
So I wanna wait and see what we have. I wanna see then how much we can invest and what we can talk about.
Okay, so I'm gonna stay beating this drum for a while, so we're gonna.
I'm more conservative.
Well, I agree, and so if we wanted to set the target at 6 million, I don't care what the target is, bottom line is
I don't
we need
either.
something in place.
I don't care what it is either.
Yeah,
At this point,
But just to
I think
sit
we're
there,
just-
no, I don't think it needs to just sit there.
I think at this point, the idea is good, there's nothing wrong with that, but I think it's something we need to discuss in the work session.
agreed, yeah, and that's,
It
yeah,
doesn't matter,
yeah.
we'd rather been out here trying to beat back and forth at this point in
Yeah.
time in fiscal court. I think we can come up with better solutions and better conversation that way. So,
Okay, so just soak on it and.
So in some of our budget meetings, this should be brought up.
And we discussed and we talked about some of this, right, in the budget meeting.
Sounds good?
Okay.
Okay, that's all I have.
And Nick, did you say we need an executive session,
Yes, sir. Litigation,
work session,
potential litigation.
litigation session? Okay.
I'll make the motion, go into executive session.
Clay,
Second.
second, Scott, all in favor, say aye. And get a motion, come out of executive session. Motion by Scott, second by Clay. All in favor say aye.
Judge, I need a motion for, to authorize the county attorney and the solid waste coordinator to begin the abatement process for a nuisance within the county, and also to authorize the county attorney and the county judge executive to expend such funds as are necessary to completely abate the nuisance, including litigation.
Motion to approve that.
Motion by Scott, second by
I'll second it.
Benji. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.